So we looked at how to select luminance masks and create luminance selections. Now look at them in a normal photo, not just an image as before. So here I have a shot, it's a night shot from Paris, and if you look at it, there are some very bright parts, like in the road, the light trails, and there are a few darker parts, like down here and to the right here. So let's start with our basic selection, the basic light selection, or lights 1 as I called it. So let's go into the channel window, again if you don't have it, window, channels, and control click on the RGB channel. So I click, and as you can see with the marching ends, it selects quite a lot of the image, but most of the selection is in this middle. But let's take a better look at the selection. So I create channel from selection, and I got this new, let's call it as before, lights 1. So I deselect so we can see better what's selected. So we can see all the light trails are selected almost to 100%, and most of the other parts of the photo are around 50% selection. So they are still quite selected a lot, but not as much as the lights. So if I want to isolate the lights even more, I would have to go with lights 2 or lights 3. So let's create them. I control click on the RGB, I also show it so you see it, and control alt shift click, and I create the lights 2, and control alt shift click once more on the RGB, and I create lights 3. As you can see, it does not matter what you have selected, you just have to click on it to work. So I will deselect, and this one, lights 2. The lights in the road are a little better isolated from the surrounding. As you can see, the surrounding is nice and dark, but if I go to lights 3, it's even better. So right now only the really lights are selected, maybe a little bit of the sky, but not that much. And I can work just with the lights of the cars. So like this I can, let's say if I want to just darken the lights of the cars, I can take this selection, so control click on the lights 3, create myself, let's say, a curves layer. Okay, I don't need that. Let's say a curves layer, and on this curves layer it will automatically create for me this mask. So this is a mask for this curves layer, so you know it will affect only the white areas, so only the car trails and other bright spots of this. So if I want to tone them down, if they are too bright, I will just push them down. So as you can see on the road, so you see it better, before, after, before, after. So the bright areas got a little darker. It's a small adjustment, you can do big ones. It's I can push it really down, but as you can see it starts to be not so nice. So this is how you can use the lights mask. So let's delete this, and let's look at the darks mask. So as I said before, if you want to create a darks mask, you need to add an adjustment layer invert, so you get the inversion of your photo, and then create a lights mask from this inversion. So let's do it. Let's control click on the RGB channel and create the mask, which is in our case the darks 1. I will deselect. So now you see everything is selected except from the light trails and the light spots on the buildings. There is also a different way how to get this selection, which I call the lazy way, because I'm sometimes lazy to create this invert layer. What you can do is just create the lights mask from the normal photo, and then deselect and invert this light mask, which is, let's call it lights inverted. The difference between the darks and the lights inverted is very small. I can show you on this photo. If you look on this one, you can almost not see it. I see it a little bit in the light trails down here and few other spots. There is a really small difference, and in most time in the editing this makes no change. So you can either use the proper way, creating an invert version of the photo, and so creating the darks selection, or you can just take the light selection and invert it. So depends on you. I usually do just the inverted. It's quicker and the difference is really small. You can see really small difference. But let's do it the right way right now. So now, since I already have the darks one, I don't no longer need the inverted version to create the darks 2. I just can do it from this. So I select the darks one and Ctrl-Alt-Shift-Click to create the darks 2. So this will be darks 2. And Ctrl-Alt-Shift-Click again on the darks one to create darks 3. So this is that's the selection you see. This is the dark selection, this is the second darkest, and this is the third darkest. So you can see this even more isolates just the really dark areas in the photo. So let's choose this selection, the darks 3, just Ctrl click on it, hold Ctrl and click, and I will create a curves layer with this. And let's say, so now I have a curves layer with a layer mask that affects only the dark areas of the photo. So if I say that I want to brighten the dark areas of the photo, I can brighten them without affecting any light areas. So everything that's light in the photo is not affected at all right now. So as you can see, I can just work with the photo like this. So I can just correct the brights, the light parts, or I can just correct the dark parts. I can, let's say I want to add contrast. I want to add contrast to the dark areas of the photo. So I can do it without affecting the light areas at all. So they are not affected in any way. So these are the darks. Let's delete this. And let's move on to the midtones. So usually the best use for midtones is by adding midtone contrast, because usually you don't, when you add contrast, you try not to affect the highlights and the dark areas of the photo that much, because you don't want to blow them out, don't want to have pure blacks and pure whites in your photo. So let's create a midtones mask. So I will click on the RGB and go Ctrl A to select the whole photo. And I will subtract lights 1 and darks 1. Again, I get this warning. It just means that the selection is not highlighted, and I will save my selection and name it midtones 1. So as you can see, this is a selection where the very bright areas are not included in the selection, and very dark areas are also not that much included. Since there is no pure black, there is you don't see that they are not completely excluded, but this is just all the middle area of the photo. So let's select it. Again, the warning, don't worry. Choose curves, and when I'm here, I can add a lot of contrast. You will see it has only a small effect on the photo, because this is really soft mask that only affects by maybe 40–50% the photo. But you can see how the photo changes when let's add really strong contrast to it, maybe like this, and you can see the change. But also you can see that the really dark areas are not very affected, and the bright areas are not affected at all. See, there are still the same amount of bright areas as there was before. So this is the midtones, and with them you can really add some contrast to your photo just by this simple way. So this is all the masks you can create for luminance masking, and in the next video we will look at how we can combine two photos by using them.